All right, welcome to the Zone Live, Week 3 edition. I'm Jack Stallard. I'm sports editor at the Longview News-Journal. To my left is Hayden Henry. To my right is Brandon Ogden. We welcome you. Hope you enjoy the broadcast here, and we invite you to send us some questions. We'd like to hear what you're thinking. Last week we had a question come in just a few seconds too late. Weren't able to answer that question for them, but hopefully it got answered after the fact. But if you have questions, let us know. We'd love to hear what you want to know about football, and we're gonna talk about some of the big games this week. We're gonna start with our etvarsity.com game of the week. Should be a good one. Gilmer Buckeyes at Tatum Eagles, 7:30 Friday night in Tatum, and Brandon's got the game. What do you see in this one?
I'm looking forward to it. I got to see Gilmer last week against Pine Tree, and knew Gilmer was good, but I was so impressed overall with Gilmer's defense was way ahead of where I expected to be at this point, and their offense, they have so many weapons. But Tatum's really good too. It's going to be a lot of athletes, a lot of big play guys. Both teams are going to put the ball in the air a lot, and both teams are so deep. Like, you won't see anyone for either team. Tatum's leading carrier had 8 carries in the first game, and Gilmer, hardly anyone's going to get more than 7 or 8 carries. They both spread the ball around a lot. So it's going to be a fun game. It's two of East Texas' best teams. They're used to playing for state titles, and both of them have a good chance to do so again this year.
Yeah, it should be a great game. I mean, we know what Gilmer's got. They've been very impressive in 2 weeks. Tatum opened up with a very impressive win, and then they were off. So that gives them another week to prepare for Gilmer. And you were telling me that Andy Evans was in the press box last week scouting the Gilmer Pine Tree game, so he got a good look at the Buckeyes.
Which is rare.
Yeah,
for a head coach to get that opportunity.
Kind of rare to get that chance, and could be an advantage for the Eagles. But I tell you what, Gilmer's loaded, and it should be a lot of fun. Let's move on with Hayden. Hayden didn't exactly get left out this weekend. He's going over to Shreveport to cover the Battle on the Border. A lot of East Texas teams in that one. Including Longview, Gladewater, Marshall, and Lufkin, all playing games over at Independence Stadium. And Hayden's going to cover a couple of those games. Hayden, tell us about the Lobos and Monroe Neville first.
Coach King, we actually just talked about an hour ago, and he tells me every week, ever since I've been meeting with him, that the game starts in the trenches. But he said, Hayden, I'm not lying, this week is especially true. Neville brings a defensive front with 2 kids. One of them's a junior with SEC offers. He said, hands down, it's the best defensive line they've seen since King has been in Longview. That's going to be a huge key for the Lobo offense as they try to avoid starting the season 0-3 for the first time since 1963. That's a big key going to be up front. They got to get the run game going. Marquise Hunter had a great game last week, carrying the load, 140 yards. Longview's got to establish some kind of passing game. It's been extremely shaky throughout the first 2 games against 2 great opponents in Longview, or in Lufkin and John Tyler. But in those 2 games against those great opponents, it's still been the Lobos that have been their biggest opponent themselves. 7 turnovers, and Neville's got offensive powers that's going to capitalize on those turnovers, just like Lufkin, just like John Tyler was able to do.
Right. I mean, you look at Longview's record 0-2, and I know people want to panic and say, "Oh my gosh, what's wrong with Lobos?" If you look at the AP rankings this week, the 2 teams they've lost to are ranked number 1 and number 2 in Class 5A. Now, I'm not convinced John Tyler's the number 1 team in the state. I vote in the poll. I didn't have them number 1, but I had them number 2, I believe. They're good, and they've won the games they've had to win. Lufkin, very impressive in their 2 wins. They've beaten some good teams. So, for them to jump up to number 2, a lot of teams lost ahead of them, and that enabled them to jump. Right now, don't know if they're number 1 and 2 in the state, but they could end up that way. Who knows? So Longview's played good opponents.
No.
So,
and it's so early. If you look at the 5A poll, it's just completely all over the place. I'm glad I don't have to vote in that every week.
it's a headache every Monday. And it's not just the 5A, all over the board. It just teams lose, and teams are playing good teams, and it happens. So. See what happens. We've got another game over there you're going to cover, Gladewater and St. Thomas.
St. Thomas More starting off Friday at 6. Really, all 4 games, Texas versus Louisiana, all 4 teams are going to get an ultimate test. Gladewater's coming on the absolute thumping of Pittsburgh last week, rolling high. They've got a great team they're facing, and St. Thomas More are definitely going to have their hands full and going to kickstart a great weekend. looking forward to Marshall and Parkway Saturday morning. Last year over there, Parkway got them pretty good. So the Mavericks coming in 2-0, riding high on the season, definitely going to see their best opponent yet. Lufkin and John Curtis. A potent John Curtis team in Louisiana, going to give Lufkin another true test.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to the Gladwater real quick. We were talking before we went on the air. Surprised how well they're running the football. With they lost, one of the top running backs in East Texas before the season started, James Reese. They haven't missed a beat. I mean, they're got so many guys running the football. Dalen Mack hadn't even. I'll have to check, but I don't think he's even carried the football this season. He that was a big part of their offense late in the season last year. So Coach John Barry's got the Bears rolling right now. Should be fun. Well, let's come back to East Texas. Come back across the border and talk about a big backyard rivalry here with Spring Hill and White Oak. This one should be a lot of fun. The Panthers and the Roughnecks. This will be the 46th meeting between the two teams. I said earlier, I hate to use the word hatred, and when we talk about high schools, but I don't know if there's just hatred, but they sure don't like each other, and they do like beating each other, especially on the football field. Should be a lot of fun. 46th meeting, and it's as close as you can get it. White Oaks won 2 in a row. They lead the series 23-22. It's to me, White Oak is one of the surprise teams in East Texas. You say that, and they were state finalists last year or semifinalists last year, but they lost so many players. I'm just shocked that they were able to come back and be as impressive. I thought they would be good later once they kind of remind me of Carthage. You lose so many players, you need some time to get going. Well, White Oak hasn't needed any time to get going. I mean, they're coming off
offense.
Yeah, especially on offense. They're coming off a 56-6 win. Cordell Smith just stepped right in at quarterback, doing a great job. They're running the ball well. Just really on a roll right now, doing well. Spring Hill, this is a big game for Spring Hill. They need to win this game. It's not a district game. Obviously, we're not worried about that yet. But the Panthers, to come off a really, really rough week last week, 46-7 loss to Van. You get a chance to beat your rival at home. If you do that, that could turn your season around. So big game for both teams. See if White Oak can keep it rolling and Spring Hill can turn things around. So should be a lot of fun. That game's at Spring Hill on Friday night. Several other big games in the area. One we mentioned, Carthage and Nacogdoches. And we'll talk about a couple others here, but Carthage and Nacogdoches just it's kind of hard to figure out Carthage right now. We talked about them a lot in the same lines of White Oak, losing so many players. They bounced back nicely last week. What do we see from the Bulldogs? Anything that stands out to you guys on Carthage right now?
I think this is a big game, for them going forward. Obviously, a good Nacogdoches team going to give them a true test, going both ways up and down the field. So, like you said with Spring Hill, I think this is really going to set the stage for what Carthage is going to do heading into district play.
Yeah, I think that's one game you don't want to make it a close game because
last year, it was a close game, and Carthage stopped Nac about like the 1 or 2 yard line the last play of the game and won. But this year, Nac, close games the last 2 weeks, they've made a field goal at the end and they've won. So Carthage may want to put them away early.
Yeah,
not let Rudy Fuentes have a chance.
Yeah, I don't think you want this one to go down to the wire on that one. And game in town here that are actually back in East Texas, Pine Tree and Kilgore. Kilgore, you talk about some tough luck, and Brandon had a chance to go down to the Houston area last Saturday and cover Kilgore against Corpus Christi Flower Bluff, and Kilgore's lost 2 games now by a total of 3 points. So the Bulldogs are they're itching to get in that win column, and Pine Tree better be ready to go because if Kilgore gets a chance to take out some frustrations, they might on this one. Tell me about the Bulldogs. What did you see about Kilgore last week that impressed you?
Kevin Justice was out there, supposed to be main running back, but Jacorius Smith. He stepped in and he had over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns last week, and then Kalen Williams And then Kilgore, they love to run the ball, but when they throw with Xavier Gaona, they're really effective. And Jared Wood's a good target at tight end. Kilgore's defense looked good early, but then second half, I think they got worn down and gave up too many big plays to a really explosive Flower Bluff team. But this is one of those games where, Pine Tree's defense has really struggled, and so I don't know if they're going to be able to, stop that Kilgore run. But Pine Tree's offense, they have a chance to put up some big yards too and some big numbers with Mason Hayes and guys.
Yeah, you said that you were impressed with the way Pine Tree ran the ball against Gilmer last week. Mason Hayes especially, going straight up the middle. They're going to need to do that. They're going to need to try to keep that ball away, because if Kilgore gets the ball, they're going to pound it. They're going to try to go on these 8, 9, 10 play drives and keep Pine Tree's offense off the field.
And I think that's kind of what hurt Kilgore last week, is hurt their defense that got worn down, is because Kilgore was they were scoring in 1 or 2 plays, so their defense didn't have much time to recover because Ja'Coria Smith was busting 60-yard runs, so their defense was back out there. So I think that kind of hurt them last week.
Right. All right, let's move on now to another game, an interesting game, Hallsville and Athens. Both these teams are 1-1. Hallsville coming off just a heartbreaking loss. They 1 second left, got a field goal kicked against them against Nacogdoches. That came after an impressive win to open the season. So the Bobcats, I think, are going to be ready to play. What do you know about the Bobcats?
Yeah, definitely doing good things over there in Hallsville. Wyatt Wolverton continuing hot start. Got the running game with Snead going, so this will be an interesting game for sure.
And Athens has a ton of talent. They do like to run the football. And if Hallsville can make them throw the football, I think Hallsville wins this game. Those are the big games, but there's several other interesting games around the area. Sulphur Springs and White House. That one's I would say I'd be surprised if there's less than 90 points scored in this game between the two teams.
Two of the best quarterbacks in East Texas. And then John Tyler Lee's always fun. You can throw the records out the window on that one.
Right. Tyler Lee's struggling, but they do seem to play the lines pretty tough anytime they play. Dangerfield and Atlanta is an intriguing game to me. Dangerfield's sitting at 0-2. That doesn't happen very often, guys. And I think in Hayden and Brandon's capsule for Friday in the Zone, they're trying to avoid their first 0-3 start since 2006. And so that one, you're just not used to seeing the Tigers, that low, with that kind of record to start a season.
And Atlanta, don't really know too much about them, but obviously doing some great things out there. Might need to be a team we need to look into.
Okay. Another very intriguing game, Hugh Springs and Wascom. We talk about the Sulphur Springs and White House game with all the passing going on. I'd be surprised if there's more than 10 passes thrown total in this game.
Right.
Both the teams love to run the football, and they do it very well. Kevin Johnson was just named the Built for Tough Class 3A Player of the Week this week for his performance last week. He rushed for 206 yards on just 8 carries. So he's going to run the ball. Gabe DuBose for Hugh Springs he's already had a 200-yard game under his belt in the opener. So there should be a whole lot of pounding the rock in that game. Obviously several more games to discuss. Be sure and pick up Friday's newspaper. Get your copy of the Zone in there. We've got probably 30 games, I believe, previewed. We've got updated East Texas standings. We've got updated East Texas stats.
Tons of stats.
Wow. Worked on stats forever this week. Thanks to my coaches for sending those in. But pick up the Zone. You'll be ready to go. Reminder: obviously we've moved the Zone live. This will be an every Wednesday thing now, so at 5:30. So tell your friends, tune in, and hope you enjoy and have a good weekend.
We did have one person comment about the posters in the back.
We have a comment on the posters in the back. These are in the Zone now on Fridays. These are offensive and defensive players of the week. You see in the back here, Cordell Smith from White Oak and Quintarius Turner from Gladewater. These were our top players this week. These are very nice keepsakes, and I hope everybody enjoys them. All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.